Hello everyone and welcome back to the Family Work. This is another video in our pizza series here. We were out of sauce. We usually make our sauce and freeze what we don't use, and now we need to make some more. So I'm just going to read through the recipe and let you watch how we make it. It needs to cook for an hour, and then it'll be ready. But we found this online. It's a New York style pizza sauce recipe. Pretty simple. I'll go ahead and post that in case you want to copy it. Again, I'm sure there's different and maybe even better, but this works for us and it's not too complicated. First thing you need is a can of whole peeled tomatoes, and we just bought this. It was like I think $1.50, $2, and this will make more than enough for how many pieces do we get out of it? Twice. Yeah, so we get about 6 of our pieces. We usually use half of it 1 week and then refrigerate the other half for the next week. So we get about 6 pizzas out of it.
Sorry for the noise.
The recipe calls for like fresh basil and oregano, and cloves of garlic, but we don't do any of that. We just use what we have.
It also calls for you to get whole tomatoes, and then you just squish them with your hand. But be careful when you're squishing them, or the shoots everywhere.
So yes, this is the part of the pizza I do not do. I handle the dough and the cooking. Um, my better half does the pizza sauce. So she is squishing the tomatoes and
Melting the butter, and I need the olive oil.
yep,
In there.
tablespoon of unsalted butter is what's being melted,
Olive oil.
and a tablespoon of olive oil. A teaspoon of oregano. Do I hold off on all that? All right.
Off on that, because I just need to do the garlic first. 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, please.
All right.
I'm fairly liberal with the garlic.
So I just learned this. It calls for 2 garlic cloves, which I guess a clove is equivalent to a teaspoon. All right. I learn something new every day.
And you want to cook this to where it's savory, but not like brown and burnt, because then it has a very bitter taste.
So right now, the butter, the olive oil, and the garlic's in there. And the little ones are fighting in the background. Or playing, I'm not sure. The screams kind of sound similar.
I also don't measure the salt, but it calls for a half a teaspoon. I just give it about 4 shakes. And then the oregano is how much again?
1 teaspoon of dried oregano.
I do not have this memorized yet, so I have to refer to the recipe myself still. So I just do kind of a heaping tablespoon of that. Give it a swirl.
And just like with the pizza dough,
That's what it looks like now.
this is very forgiving. We've discovered, which we like.
It actually says on here to stir until fragrant, or about a minute, and then you add the tomatoes. And here comes a child squawking. I can hear them in the distance.
All right, so now we add the tomatoes.
I'm going to add the basil and a teaspoon of onion powder.
All right, 2 stems of fresh basil and 1 teaspoon of onion powder. We should have an open one, huh?
I just finished off the
Okay.
the last that we had. Can you get that for me, please?
Yep. And I did not do a cost analysis of this sauce because most of this stuff we already have here in the house, except for the tomatoes. So you figure if it's $2, $1.50 for the tomatoes, if we get 6 pizzas out of it, you just figure maybe $1 a week for our 3 pizzas. So we're still, and the other thing I didn't factor is our toppings, which you'll see when we go to make the pizza. Really, that's the most expensive part is the toppings and the cheese.
And again, the basil, you can use the fresh basil as I call for. I just kind of eyeball it, put maybe 2 tablespoons in there.
So
And then this is kind of what it looks
2
like.
tablespoons, and then do you put a teaspoon of sugar?
I do, because that cuts the acidity. sugar helps the medicine go down.
All right, so that is a lot more complicated than the dough and calls a lot more recipes.
Then you just bring it to a boil, and then you let it sit for 45 minutes to an hour on a low simmer.
All right,
This makes the house smell wonderful.
so bring it to a boil and then let it sit for about an hour on a low simmer. And then we'll let it cool down and put it on our pizza here in a bit.
Oh, I run it through the blender at the end.
Oh, so here's a customization for me. I don't like chunky sauce. I don't want to eat tomatoes on my pizza. So my wife runs it through a blender to kind of puree it. Was that the correct word? To take all the chunks out of it for me. That's just a personal preference. One extra step that I much appreciate. So that's it for the sauce. We're waiting on the dough here to do its second proof, and then we're ready to make some pizzas. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day.